Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. On this podcast, I share my journey as a developing psychic medium, as a Reiki master teacher, as an Akashic record practitioner, and anything else that's thrown my way. Hello, Middlers. Welcome back to the Medium in the Middle podcast. My name is Stephanie. I am the Medium in the Middle, and this is episode 136. On this week's episode, I am doing a highly requested video of my Reiki story, my full Reiki story. I've told this, I guess, throughout the episodes, but I've never told it as one big chunk. So hopefully this can help you wherever you are in your Reiki journey. Even if you aren't on a Reiki journey, it might help to kind of clue in some pieces or see how things fit. I'm constantly talking in my Reiki courses about how hindsight is 20/20, and when we take our Reiki courses, all makes sense afterwards, but not always in the moment. And I definitely have a case of that. So I'm going to run through my entire Reiki and development journey from when it started to where I am now. And it's only been 4 years. So it was 2018 that this all happened. And it's 2022 now. So I felt it's only appropriate for me to start this episode by pulling a card from the Colette Baron-Reid Enchanted Map deck. Now, I know I call this my OG deck, and I've used this on the podcast for a while now, and I've really come to like card pulling and the interpretation of it and intuitively working with Oracle and Tarot cards. Anyways, I've added a service in, Reiki and card pull, so that's really exciting. You get 3 card pulls after your Reiki session, and it can either be virtual or in person, and usually I find the 3 cards are past, present, future type of message, or all 3 cards together give a full message, so it depends what you're asking. But I've been using the Colette Baron-Reid Enchanted Map deck since my Reiki Masters course, so I've told this story before, but I will say it again for anyone who's a new listener. I received this deck on my Reiki Masters. So for my Reiki Masters, I had a volunteer that came in, and my Reiki Master Lois set it up, and she arranged the volunteer because we were at a friend's house, and the woman originally got me like this really cute bag of lavender, and then after the Reiki session, she loved the session so much, she like wanted to give me more. So she like personally knew Colette Baron-Reid when she was younger. So she's like, I have a very old enchanted map deck that I want to gift to you. And that was kind of the first deck that someone gave me that I was like, oh, like, okay, that was my first Oracle deck. So I've really come to like this deck, which is why I use it in the podcast a lot. So before I jump into my Reiki story, let's pull some cards. So I pulled 2 cards, one from the Enchanted Map deck, then I wanted a second one, so I went to the Kyle Gray Angel Guide Oracle. So the first card I pulled was card 21, Field of Dreams. Your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are always engaging the vast field of pure potential. This is the perfect time to harness the field of vast potential not yet realized in your life. Great abundance is yours if you're willing to do the work alongside the gentle gardener. Be clear about your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Concentrate on your best life regardless of the temporary outer conditions imposed upon you by the greater world, which has its own story to tell. You have a basket full of seeds that are quite powerful, and your talents are divinely inspired and will indeed lead to great harvest to be shared with others. You will reap what you have sown. Dream big, dream beautiful, take action, and tend to the garden of your life, and experience the extraordinary. I love when the cards match the theme of the podcast. You think I did that on purpose, but I didn't. Okay, and the second card is from the Kyle Gray Angel Guide Oracle. I pulled the card Transformation. You are ready to move beyond energies or situations that are no longer helpful to you and to make space in your life for something more purposeful. You may feel a real need for clearing out at this time, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually too. As you remove the clutter and debris from your world, you welcome in the energy of transformation. Like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, you are ready to move beyond the previous limitations of your life. You are moving away from stagnancy or the feeling of being held back and are taking the heavy energies of your life and making them light so that you can fully embrace who you were born to be. Ooh, transformation. 2 great cards this week, and I really like how they fit with what I'm going to be talking about. If you are a new listener and you want to know my whole story, if you start from episode 1, I tell my entire development journey from the very beginning. And as the episodes go on, I tell everything that has happened leading up to where I am today in my mediumship journey, just as my intro says. But we are at 136 now, so a lot has happened in the past 3 years of podcasting, 4 years of kind of experiences. So I'm going to jump back to like pre-episode 1 of where this all starts. And people always ask me, like, why Reiki? And it was simply this. I used to work at Lululemon, and I was the community lead for Lululemon. So it was my job to do community outreach, community events, and part of my role was to involve the community with our communities. So there was this woman, her name is Kim, and she owns Purple Lotus. If anyone saw on Instagram, we did a collab with an evil eye bracelet, which was really fun. She is a small business owner in Ontario. She's amazing. And she is actually the reason how this all started. We did a really cool evil eye bracelet collab. If you want to check it out, I'll link it below. And there's also a discount code you can use. So anyway, she used to come in on Saturdays to sell her malas, her bracelets, crystals. She's just this super cool person. And I was always very drawn to her, and I didn't really know her that well. So whenever she came into the store, I was like trying to get to know her. We eventually started hanging out outside of Lululemon, but this all started when she was coming to Lululemon, doing these pop-ups, and it was always Saturdays. So it was always really busy. She was really busy. I was really busy. We never really had that much time to talk. She was always so generous and like so nice and thankful for being at the store. And I was like, yeah, thank you. So anyways, we formed this relationship, but it was through these like quick passerbys of like trying to get to know each other while I'm working the floor and she's manning her booth that she told me she was a Reiki master. And I didn't know what that was. I just thought it sounded really cool. So then again, because I was working at Lululemon, there was the Toronto Yoga Fest going on. That might not be the name, but it was a big yoga festival in Toronto. So a bunch of people from Lululemon were going. And I was looking at going, but I hated driving into the city. It was actually like really far from where I lived. And there was just like a bunch of reasons why I didn't want to go to this yoga festival. But then I was thinking, oh, maybe I could learn Reiki there. So I looked up the Reiki course, and it was like an 8 hours, started at 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on a Saturday. And it was like $450 or something. And I was like, oh, I could learn Reiki at the yoga thing in Toronto. Nah. And then I started thinking like, well, I should see where else you can learn Reiki, and I should also see, like, is that a good price? Is that the amount of time it's supposed to take? Like, I should look this up. So through my research, I found that there was another training that was, like, 20 minutes from my house, and it was $150. So I was like, oh, like, I'll just do that training. And I literally had no idea what I was doing. I just liked the word Reiki, and I wanted to be a Reiki master. That is literally the only drive that I had. And I say in my courses a lot, like, Reiki calls your name. That was Reiki calling my name. So I went and I took this Reiki course, and they went around and we all said our names and what we were doing. And I literally said, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I've never had a Reiki session. I don't know what Reiki is. Like, I always joke we could have been making noodles in the training. And I know we weren't making noodles, but I just had no idea what I was doing there. So I took the course. It was one day. It was cool. I liked it. And then being someone who just learned something, I just started practicing. And I remember I was like blindly practicing. I just did whatever Lois told me to do. And Lois is my Reiki master, so she's my teacher. And, you know, she told me to do this hand position. I did it. She told me to practice like this. I practiced. And people would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. Whatever she told me to do. And you're like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. She just told me to do this. And I blindly just did what she told me to do. I'm a Capricorn. I'm a rule follower. I like to do things, you know, the way that they're intended. So she told me to practice. I practiced. She told me to do this. I did that. And things started to develop. So I remember I signed up for the level 2 because I was like, oh yeah, I'll do the level 2 as well. And it was supposed to be 2 weeks later. And if you know from me talking about it, there has to be 21 days in between Reiki level 1 and Reiki level 2. So I remember Lois was kind of telling us that this Reiki course was too close to level 1. And I said to her, well, Lois, why don't you just change the date? And she said, well, the lady who owns the restaurant where they were hosted at, she's like, it's better for business if people sign up to things that are close together. So, we made the dates close together, but I don't like it. It's not supposed to be like that. There has to be 21 days in between level 1 and level 2. And we were like, oh, okay. But, a few of us signed up for the next one. So that was supposed to be 2 weeks later. On that weekend, and it was in April, there was a huge ice storm. And like everything was covered in ice. The roads were covered in ice. The hydro lines were covered in ice. The trees were all covered in ice. So then the tree branches were breaking and falling on things. A lot of people didn't have hydro. It was like this giant, crazy ice storm. And I still remember to this day getting an email from that morning of the training being like, to my greatest delight, the weather has saved our training from being on the wrong weekend, and it will be rescheduled for, sometime in May. And I remember laughing when I got that email because I was like, of course she's going to be happy about this. She was telling us that these trainings were too close together. So I had more time to practice in between level 1 and level 2 because it got extended, and I think it was pushed by like another month. So it got rescheduled. And in between level 1 and level 2, just some things started happening to me. I started to know things. I had a few weird experiences. If you go back to the podcast, like that experience on the plane with the 2 kids and them turning around and holding my hand. Weird kids just wanting me to hold them in the mall, knowing things, pains going away, just like kind of odd, weird things with really no explanation. So when I went to my level 2, I had a laundry list of questions to be like, what's this and what's this and what's this? And Lois was kind of like, yeah, that's Reiki. That's what's going on. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's Reiki. Again, I just took what she said for face value. And then we did level 2. There was just 2 of us in that course. And at lunchtime on the course break, Lois was telling us about how she taught a crystal Reiki course, or she used to teach a crystal course, or something about this crystal course. And we were like, oh, well, we're interested in this course. And she was like, oh, well, if you both want to do it, like, let's do it. And we were like, okay. So we literally just went to her house one day to do this course. And between Reiki level 2 and this crystal course, that's when things really amped up for me mediumistically. Names started coming to me. If you remember the earlier stories, my iPad music used to shut off. That bird used to fly into the window whenever I had a name to say. I started to know things. I started to predict things. It was like a laundry list of things started happening after level 2. Level 2 was a huge level up, and it is a level up for everybody. So between level 2 and the crystal course, I think it was another month. So I had a lot of practice, and I came with kind of a lot more questions for Lois. And that's one of the earlier episodes that I talk about with the man in the brown hat. And I saw the picture. So when I went to the crystal course, I had all these questions, but they were all mediumship questions. And that's when Lois was kind of like, I can't help you. Like, I do Reiki, not mediumship. And that's when she pulled those cards for me, and they essentially said nothing that I didn't already know. And that's when we went back to Joe's house and we found the photo in the book of the man that I saw in the dream. That was kind of like the first time. I think that's the episode, the first time. So if you scroll back to the first 5 episodes, that's all the stories. So that happened, and that was in, say, May of 2018. This was before I was moving to Banff. This was before I knew what was going on. Then I went through this experience where I quit my job at Lululemon. I took a month off. I went to Costa Rica. I took a yoga teacher training where I practiced a bunch of Reiki while I was at this yoga teacher training. And I came back and I was going to reinvent my life and myself and figure out what I want to do. And Lululemon taught me to be uncomfortable. So I was going to get uncomfortable and then shake up my life and, figure things out, because I was 28 at the time. going into my Saturn return, just a baby, not knowing what was to come, engaged to a man, living in a big $1 million home, thinking that you had all the things. And then I came back from Costa Rica, and like a week later or something, we were going to Banff for a wedding, and we hadn't been to Banff since we left Banff. So it was like 3.5 years. And I knew that, like, I always say this when people ask me about my Banff experience. The first year after I moved away from Banff, this was 2015, I couldn't even talk about it. I couldn't look at a picture of a mountain. People used to be like, oh, like, you guys are back. Yay. Like, do you miss Banff? And I used to look at them like they were idiots. And I stopped responding eventually because I was like, what do you mean do I miss Banff? I'm living in the GTA, like the Greater Toronto Area, for people who aren't from Canada. And eventually I remember Joe, my fiance at the time, pulled me aside at an event, and he was like, Steph, you can't just not answer and walk away when someone asks you if you miss Banff. And I was like, well, they're an idiot for asking me that question. And he was like, be nice. And I was like, no. And then year 2, it was like I could talk about it, but I couldn't look at pictures. It like literally made me so depressed and just want to cry. Like I just missed it so much. And then year 3, I like knew that I wanted to go back, but I also knew that if I went back, I wouldn't leave. So I have another episode, Why Banff, where I talk about that entire journey and experience. So that was all happening. So then we went to Banff, and then I knew I wanted to move back to Banff. This was July 2018. And when I came back, this is when the universe really started to move for me. I could not get a job anywhere. Anywhere. I applied at Tim Hortons. I applied at McDonald's. I applied at Walmart. Obviously, I applied at like other jobs that I wanted to, like professional jobs, but I could not get a job anywhere. I was like, why will no one hire me? And this is when I really started to learn how to work with the universe, and I understood the signs and the symbols, and I understood why things weren't working out, and I understood why doors were closing. So then I got a job offer to move to Banff. So I moved to Banff. Coming back to my Reiki story, I was leaving Lois. Now, I became very attached to Lois. I have like a whole thing about me thinking I was a baby of hers that passed, and it's like part of my soul was that. If you remember the I Am Shannon episode, lots happened. There's been a lot of episodes, So I was like really upset to leave her because I wanted to be a Reiki master. That was like in my head. I wanted to be a Reiki master, and only Lois could master me because I took my level 1 and level 2 with her. And in my mind, I would like never cheat on Lois. I was like, I will never go see somebody else. So I'm moving to Banff, and by this point is when I'm realizing I can talk to dead people. So I'm literally telling all my friends, hey, I think I can talk to dead people. And I had a friend from Banff say, hey, Steph, I know you're moving back to Banff. I have a friend in Banff who might be able to help you with the dead people stuff. Here's her number. And I was driving back to Banff, and I randomly texted this number. I was like, I have nothing to lose. And I literally said, hey, I just found out I talk to dead people. I heard you do too. Do you want to go for coffee? And this, like any witch would do, she responded, hey, yeah, sure. I'm available on Tuesday. So a few days after I met this girl, we went for coffee, and we realized we don't do the same thing, but she was cool. And she told me she had a Reiki Master's course coming up. And I was like, oh my God, I need to do it. Like all the stars are aligning. Again, I'm starting to learn how the universe works. And I was like, I have to take Reiki Masters with you. So I get on the phone with Lois, and I was like, Lois, I met this girl. She does the same things I do, kind of. She's going to help me with the mediumship stuff. Like, can I do my Masters with her? I know I'm supposed to wait a year, but it just is all lining up. And what are your thoughts? I want your blessing on this. What should I do? And Lois was like, based on your development, I think you can do it now. She's like, usually I would tell people to wait, but you've had so much happen to you, over the past few months that yes, you can do it. I approve you doing it. And if you want to do it with this lady, go do it with her. And I was like, okay. So I was going into my Reiki Masters. I had Lois's permission. I had this new friend who also talked to dead people, kind of. I had a tribe. I'm in Banff now. Everything's great. And I go to my Reiki Masters, and I learned a lot. And I also learned that it was all wrong. I was rushing it. I was doing it for my ego. I just wanted to be a Reiki master. I just wanted the symbols, and she wasn't Lois in the end. We're still great friends. We still do a lot together. I still really, really appreciate this person, and I still am very happy I did this course, but it was not what I needed at the time. So I never called myself a Reiki master. I never used the master symbols. I just couldn't. Then it was a year later that for my 30th birthday, my gift was flying myself back to Ontario, back to where Lois lived, in order to do my Reiki Masters properly with her. It was a longer course. It was the hours. It was everything I needed. By that time, I had so much experience. I had been working in Reiki that if I could call myself a Reiki Master, I could use the symbols, and it was like everything worked out perfectly. I also think I have an episode on my Reiki Masters. There's so many episodes I can't remember. So by this time in my Reiki journey, I was very humbled. I understood the process. I understood the timelines. I understood why I had to do these things all in the way you had to do them. And I remember at my training, Lois was like, okay, you have to start teaching right away. And I was like, oh my God, Lois, no, like I'm going to wait years to start teaching. And she was like, no, Steph, like the whole reason why you do Reiki Masters is to teach. Your job is to teach as many level 1s and level 2s as possible. Like that's your mission. And I was like, but I can't teach. I was like, I've only been doing this for like a year and a half now. She was like, you have to teach. I wouldn't have mastered you if I didn't think you were ready. And, I've only mastered 5 people in my 20 plus years of Reiki. Like you have a special gift. She's like, you have to teach others. And I remember telling her like, no, I'm going to wait years. And then of course, what does Reiki do? It brings people into your life that you need into your life. And it takes out people from your life that you don't need in your life. And I met some people in Banff that were doing Reiki. I got jobs doing Reiki in Banff. But then a yoga studio in town was opening, and they started to want to offer Reiki trainings. And I became friends with the woman who was a Reiki master, and she knew I was a Reiki master. And she kind of pulled me under her wing and said, okay, I'm teaching these trainings. If you do it with me, like I'll show you how to do trainings to get more experience. And I was like, okay. So her and I started running trainings in Banff, and that was really cool in person. This was all pre-pandemic, the shutdown of the world. And then the world shut down and everything went online. And that's when I was getting DMs multiple times a day to teach Reiki Level 1 online. And then once all my Reiki Level 1 students started going through, then they wanted Level 2. So I was like, okay, now I have to figure out how to teach Level 2 online. So coming up in September will be the anniversary of when I started to do Reiki courses online, and they sold like hotcakes. I was doing 2 a month. It was amazing. It was beautiful. I fell in love with teaching. It was like my groove. Like I am on this earth to teach Reiki. I know it. Like that is my purpose. Everyone's always looking for their purpose. Mine's teaching Reiki. And I know that. Like it is, I shine. It's my jam. I love helping people. I love my students. I love everything about teaching. It lights me up. I get excited about it. I've taught the course dozens and dozens of times to hundreds and hundreds of students. And I still am obsessed with it. Everyone's like, don't you get sick of teaching it twice a month? No, never. I will never get sick of teaching Reiki. That's my Reiki journey, pretty much. So it was interesting. The last time I taught Reiki Level 1, a student asked me, she was like, be honest with us, Steph. Do you think we could be as good as you at Reiki? And it was an interesting question. And I laughed and I said, thank you for the compliment. But yes, I do honestly think all of you have the capacity to, quote unquote, be as good as me on Reiki. But will you all want to create a business, quit your job, and become medium in the middle full time? Maybe no. But those who will be called, it will be very interesting, your journey. And I say that this is my biggest tip, and I don't gatekeep it. I tell everybody the reason why I think I have become so good at Reiki and I know it like the back of my hand, these courses, how to do Reiki, is because I can confidently say every single day since the day that I got my level 1 attunement over 4 years ago, I have done Reiki every single day. Every single day I have used Reiki. I have flowed the energy through my hands. I have practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced some more. I have hundreds of practice sessions. I remember doing little sessions, 5-minute sessions, 20-minute sessions, trading sessions. I worked at different spas. I had something out of my house. I've done my own thing now. Like, it's just grown and grown and grown, but it's grown because I've done it every single day. And if you do something every single day for over 1,500 days straight, you'll probably get pretty good at it. So I really credit my success and my drive to, number one, my interest in Reiki, the Reiki calling my name, because it called my name strong for level 1 to level 2 to push to masters, and also me practicing for over 1,500 days straight. Because I never thought I would have hundreds of students. I never thought I would be teaching Reiki as much as I do. I never thought Reiki would be my full-time job. If you would have told me this in 2018, when I was still living in the GTA, engaged to someone, I would have laughed really hard. Like, really hard. I would have thrown my head back. I would have slapped my knee. I would have laughed at you. And now it's my full-time job. I make triple any salary I've ever had in my entire life. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. I literally get to do what I love 6 days a week because now I take a day off. And I get to teach new students twice a month. I'm literally the luckiest person in the world. And I also probably teach the most Reiki out of anyone in the world. I don't know anyone that teaches as much Reiki as I do. It's very common to teach it like once a quarter, maybe once a month, once every other month. I teach twice a month consistently for the last over 24 months. So just lots and lots of Reiki everywhere in my life, and it called my name and I answered the call and it's changed my life. And I tell everybody, Reiki level 1 will change your life. And it does over and over and over again. And it's incredible. How it will change your life is going to be different for everyone. Is it a business for everybody? No. Is it a full-time job for everybody? No. But is it still going to be a huge awakening into your intuition and yourself? Yes. Oh my God, yes. So since level 2, that's when you're a full Reiki practitioner and you can actually exchange for money and do full sessions on others. So since then, like I said, I started practicing on family members, friends, literally anybody. I started having people come over for sessions. I started doing 20-minute sessions at any family gathering, any barbecue. Anytime I was sitting beside someone watching TV, I Reiki'd them. Then I started doing trades. You have to bring me something. You have to make me lunch. You have to buy me ice cream. You have to do whatever. Then I started to exchange at $20, $40, $60, $80. Then I started working in different spas and locations. When I lived in the GTA, I made a little Reiki room in my house, and I also did lashes. And I was an eyelash technician. Again, just trying to make money, doing whatever I could. I always say that business taught me how to do business, because it was a low risk business that I could go in without investing a lot of money in, and I could learn a lot about business, and I absolutely did. So I had it in my house. When I moved to Banff, I worked at a few different spas, a few different locations. I subcontracted, and now I have my own location in Banff. I have my name on the lease, my name on the door. My name is on Banff Avenue. If you walk down the 100 block of Banff Ave, you will see my name. Stephanie Camille, not medium in the middle, but it is, again, a dream come true. I'm so grateful. I'm sitting here in gratitude as I say this, because it's been an amazing journey. And in hindsight, it's 2020, right? Like, this is an easy story to tell now, 4 and a bit years later, but we don't always know that at the beginning. So when people tell me, I've been trying to take a Reiki course for years and it hasn't worked out, I'm always like, don't worry. I had one student who was trying to take a Reiki course for 20 years. She was like, when I was 18, I wanted to take a course. And then I got married, and then I had kids, and the kids were busy, and then the weekends were full. Now the kids are gone, and all these things. And I was like, that's okay. You're here now for a reason, and it's going to make sense. It's probably not going to make sense today, but it is going to make sense one day. And now my today makes sense. That is my Reiki story, my Reiki journey from start to finish. My level 1, my level 2, my masters, and it's exciting because in August this year, I am going to be mastering my first Reiki student. And this is huge for me. It's a huge rite of passage. It is massive undertaking. Like, the course creation that I'm doing right now is so fun because I get to make this everything I wished I needed and wanted. So same with all my courses. I get to add in a lot that I wish I knew this at the beginning, that I didn't have to reinvent the wheel to understand. And Lois only mastered 5 students in her entire 20 plus Reiki career. And I plan to master many more than 5. I'm young and I have lots of time and energy, and again, we need more people teaching level 1s and level 2s and level 1s and level 2s. And the amazing thing about this master student that's coming up is that she said, she's like, I've been referring everyone to you and trying to tell them how great you are, but they just say they want to learn with me. And I don't know why. And I was like, that's the call. That's the call. That's Reiki saying you are meant to teach them. You are these people's teacher. You can say I'm great and you can talk me up to the, Steph's great, all these great things, la. They don't care. They want to learn from you, and that's special. And that's why you become a master, because you want to teach, you want to share. So I was like, yep, that's all I need to hear. Obviously I need to hear more, but that was like the biggest thing that I was like, this is the reason why people want to learn from you. This is so special. This is so important. And this is why you do it. So if Reiki has called your name, that's incredible. If you think Reiki's calling your name, it probably is. If you're like, what? I don't even know what that means. That's okay. Reiki's doesn't have to be for everybody. Even though it's available for everybody, it does not mean every single person has to take a Reiki course. Even though I do wish it was a life prerequisite, it is not. So there's my Reiki journey. It has been highly requested. And I guess, yes, I've never told the entire story in one podcast. It's been kind of piece by piece or story by story. So there it is. Don't compare don't compare your journey to mine. We are all different. We are all walking our paths. They're all unique. It's all really interesting, like the speed at which they all happen. So please don't use this as a comparison. It is just my journey. Wherever you are in your journey is perfect for you. But that is mine, and I hope it's helpful. I hope it was kind of like, oh wow, that's how it all unfolded. Again, hindsight is 2020. This is an easy story to tell, sitting from where I am now. You would have asked me something like this 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would not have had any of this insight. Thank you for listening, everybody. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I release new episodes every Wednesday. And if you haven't already, please leave the podcast a quick review. It really helps me out in the podcast world grow this little baby-roni. I'm so excited for 3 years. The podcast is coming up to 3 years in August. There's going to be a big party with me, myself, and I. But there's going to be a party online too. So please leave the podcast a review wherever you are listening. I really appreciate it. As always, if you want to book an appointment with me for Reiki, in person or distance, Akashic Records, or PSYCH-K, all of that will be down below. Links in the show notes. You can click right onto my website. As a reminder, all booking is done on my website. I will never, ever DM you on Instagram, but I am on Instagram and Facebook at Medium in the Middle. There are some scam accounts out there. I am at Medium in the Middle. I will link it down below for you. And I will have more information on the fall mentorship coming up. If there is any spots outside of the wait list, that will be coming very shortly. So you can always email me if you want to get on that wait list. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, I will see you in your ears. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.